Your career just hit a wall you never saw coming. That feeling of the ground falling away is a universal human experience. And 2,000 years ago, a Roman philosopher named Seneca argued this exact moment is not your enemy. He believed adversity is the very forge where wisdom is shaped. In his essay on Providence, he writes that difficulties are what the gods use to toughen a person, noting a great pilot is tested in a storm, not on a calm sea. This video will give you a new mental framework to not just endure hardship, but to actively learn from it, transforming your relationship with difficulty forever. We will explore how a life without challenges is like a sword never used in battle, and why your deepest struggles might be hiding your most important lessons. What personal challenge has recently forced you to grow in a way you did not expect? We spend so much of our lives chasing a single goal, a smooth path free of obstacles. But what if that very desire is what holds us back? The ancient Stoics had a radical perspective on this. They personified the unpredictable forces of life as the goddess Fortuna, or fortune. Most of us think of fortune as simple luck, either good or bad. For Seneca and his peers, however, fortune was not a blind, random force. She was a meticulous teacher, and her curriculum was composed entirely of the challenges we so desperately try to avoid. This changes everything. It means the difficult boss, the financial setback, the personal loss, these are not random misfortunes. They are deliberate lessons, custom designed for your growth. The Stoics took this a step further, arguing that both good fortune and bad fortune are, in themselves, indifferent. They are neither good nor bad. What gives them meaning is solely our judgment of them. A promotion is only good if it leads to virtue, and a failure is only bad if we learn nothing from it. Seneca warned that constant prosperity is a danger. It can lull us into comfort, making us soft and untested, like a sword that hangs on a wall, its blade never used in battle. It may look polished and perfect, but the first real conflict will reveal its weakness. True strength, the unbreakable kind, is only forged in the fires of adversity. It is there that we discover what we are truly made of. For Seneca, every difficulty is a lesson waiting to be learned. This is the core of his philosophy, the idea that hardship is not a punishment but a classroom. Think of it this way: you can read every book ever written on how to swim. You can memorize the theory of buoyancy and the mechanics of each stroke, but none of that knowledge matters the moment you are thrown into the deep end of the pool. That first gasp for air, the frantic struggle to stay afloat, that is where real learning begins. It is visceral, immediate, and unforgettable. Theoretical philosophy is the book knowledge. It gives you the principles, the maps, and the ideals, but adversity is the deep water. It is the practical curriculum that forces you to use those principles under pressure, to navigate when you are disoriented and afraid. This is the training ground where wisdom is earned, not just understood. Recall the ship's captain we mentioned earlier. On a calm sea, any sailor can appear competent. But the captain's true skill, their deep knowledge of the wind and the waves, is only forged in the heart of a storm. It is there they learn to read the subtle shifts in the weather, to trust their instincts, and to command their vessel through chaos. The storm does not break a great captain, it completes their education. Your life is no different. The setbacks you face, the personal storms that shake you, these are not interruptions to your journey. They are the central chapters of your training manual. They are the exams in the classroom of difficulty, designed to reveal your strength and to teach you what calm waters never could. Fire tests gold, adversity tests strong men. Seneca's ancient words hold a powerful truth about the nature of our struggles. Picture a lump of raw gold ore straight from the earth. It is mixed with rock, dirt, and other base metals. It has potential, but it is impure and lacks its true brilliance. The goldsmith does not gently wash it or polish it in its rough state. He places it directly into a searing hot fire. The intense heat does not destroy the gold. Instead, it does the opposite. The flames liquefy the metal, causing the impurities, the dross, to separate and rise to the surface to be skimmed away. What remains is pure, radiant, and vastly more valuable. Adversity operates on our character in this exact same way. The heat of a major life challenge, a failure, or a loss acts as that refining fire. It burns away the superficial elements of our personality that we often mistake for strength. It targets our vanity, the part of us that needs to look successful in the eyes of others. It consumes our unfounded fears, the anxieties about things that never actually happen. It scorches our false attachments to possessions, status, and comfort, showing us what we can truly live without. The pain of the fire is real, but it is not the point. The value of the process is not the burning itself, but what remains after the flames die down. You are left with a clearer sense of who you are, what you truly value, and a strength that is no longer dependent on external circumstances. This is the forging of unshakable character. Think back to a significant hardship you have faced. Can you identify one impurity, one fear or attachment that the heat of that experience helped to burn away from your character? That painful process was not your destruction, it was your refinement. What if the problem you are facing is not the real problem at all? Seneca pointed to a profound truth that shifts the entire landscape of hardship. The adversity itself, the external event, is often neutral. It is our judgment of that event, the story we tell ourselves about it, that truly determines our suffering. This is the vital Stoic separation between what happens to us and what we choose to do with it. The philosopher Epictetus, a fellow Stoic, opened his famous handbook with this very idea. He wrote, "Some things are up to us and some are not. Our opinions, our impulses, our desires, these are within our power. Our bodies, our possessions, our reputations, these are not. The critical feedback from your boss, the sudden financial pressure, the unexpected rejection, these events are in that second category. They are outside your complete control. But your reasoned choice, your proherses, which is your faculty of judgment and your inner response, that is always yours to command. Consider two employees who received the exact same criticism in a performance review. The first employee hears the words and immediately judges them as a personal attack, a final verdict on their incompetence. This internal story creates a storm of shame and defensiveness. The second employee hears the identical words and judges them as raw data, an opportunity to identify blind spots and improve. The external event was the same. The internal judgments were worlds apart, and so was the resulting experience. One was devastated, the other was motivated. The adversity did not cause the pain. The interpretation did. Your greatest power in any difficult situation lies not in changing the event, which may be impossible, but in carefully examining and, if necessary, changing your opinion about it. This is the moment you step out of the storm and into the eye of the hurricane, a place of calm from which you can finally see clearly. A muscle grows only when it faces a weight it must struggle to lift. Without that resistance, it weakens and wastes away. Your character develops in the exact same way. A life that is completely free of obstacles, a path with no hills to climb, does not create a strong and resilient person. It creates a fragility that shatters at the first sign of real pressure. Seneca saw the universe itself as a rational, ordered system. The resistance we encounter is not a sign of a broken world or a personal punishment from a cruel fate. It is the necessary weight, the intentional load designed specifically to build our inner strength. The difficult person in your life is not a random annoyance. They are the weight for your patience. The project that feels overwhelming is not a curse. It is the resistance for your perseverance. The financial pressure that forces you to budget carefully is not a failure. It is the workout for your discipline. Each challenge is a form of training, targeting a specific weakness and asking you to grow stronger to meet it. This perspective transforms the entire experience of hardship. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and you start asking a far more powerful question. What quality is this difficulty trying to build in me? What muscle of my character is being called to grow? Think about the most persistent challenge you are facing right now. Is it teaching you patience, perhaps, or resilience, or maybe a deeper courage you did not know you possessed? The resistance is not your enemy. It is your most demanding coach, and it will not give you a weight you are incapable of lifting. A city can be under siege, its walls shaking from the bombardment outside, yet deep within its central fortress, the commander remains calm, assessing the situation with clear eyes. This is the Stoic ideal of the inner citadel. It is not a physical place but a mental fortress built from reason and virtue, a place of peace that external chaos cannot breach. Adversity is the very force that teaches us how to construct this stronghold and when to retreat inside it for shelter. You have likely felt a version of this. Perhaps during a crisis at work, while everything around you was frantic, you discovered a small, quiet center within yourself from which you could make a clear decision. That moment of calm in your personal storm was a glimpse of your inner citadel. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, who faced endless wars and political intrigue, wrote extensively about this sanctuary. He said, "People look for retreats for themselves in the country, by the sea, in the hills. But this is altogether unphilosophical when you can at any moment retreat into your own mind. Nowhere is there a more peaceful or less crowded retreat. True security," he reminds us, "is not found in a peaceful location or perfect circumstances. It is found by turning inward." Seneca cultivated this inner strength through a powerful mental exercise called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This is not pessimistic worrying. It is the deliberate and rational practice of visualizing potential hardships, not to fear them, but to disarm them. By mentally rehearsing the loss of a job, the criticism of others, or even a personal illness, you do a remarkable thing. You are building the walls of your inner citadel in advance. When a difficulty you have premeditated actually arrives, the shock is muted. It feels less like a catastrophic ambush and more like a scenario for which you have already drafted a plan. The event may still be painful, but the panic and confusion are greatly reduced because you have already fortified your mind. You have already found your way to that inner room of calm. The ultimate lesson adversity teaches is that the only real security lies within the unshakable core of your own character. Everything outside of that, your possessions, your reputation, your comfort, can be taken away. But the citadel of your mind, once built, is a refuge no external force can ever truly capture. We learn the limits of our control only when our grip finally slips. You pour your heart into a business, believing your effort alone guarantees its success, only to watch it falter for reasons you never anticipated. You commit to a relationship, certain your love is enough to sustain it, and then it ends, leaving you bewildered. These are not simple failures, they are profound and painful lessons in what lies outside your command. The market, another person's heart, a global event, these forces do not answer to your will. Adversity's first and most crucial gift is this shattering of the illusion that you are the sole author of every outcome. This realization, as difficult as it is not a sentence to helplessness. It is the necessary first step toward a more focused and potent form of power. When you stop trying to command the ocean's waves, you can finally learn the art of sailing. Your energy shifts from the futile struggle to control the uncontrollable, toward the one domain that is always yours to govern. You cannot control the criticism, but you can control whether you take it as an insult or as instruction. You cannot control the loss, but you can control the meaning you assign to it and the values you choose to uphold in its wake. You cannot control the actions of others, but you can always control your own response. This is the foundation of Stoic equanimity, a calm that comes not from a perfect life, but from a clear understanding of where your true responsibility begins and ends. The storm outside rages on, but you are no longer wasting your strength trying to shout it into silence. You are learning to build a shelter within. Raging against a storm is an exercise in exhaustion. You can scream at the wind, curse the rain, and demand that the sky be fair, but the storm does not care. It will continue until its energy is spent. A wiser person sees the same dark clouds and does not waste a single breath on protest. They secure the shutters, light a lamp, and settle in to wait. This is the profound difference between futile resistance and powerful acceptance, a Stoic virtue forged directly in the fires of adversity. The Stoics called this amor fati, a love of one's fate. It is the radical decision to not merely tolerate what happens, but to embrace it as necessary. The philosopher Epictetus, who knew the hardship of slavery, gave this stunning advice. Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do, and you will go on well. This sounds almost unnatural at first. How can you wish for a loss, a failure, a pain? The key is to understand that acceptance is not passive resignation. It is not a defeated sigh or a shrug of the shoulders. That is surrender. Acceptance, by contrast, is an active and clear-eyed engagement with reality exactly as it is. Resignation says this is terrible and I cannot do anything about it, so I give up. Acceptance says this is what is true right now, and within this truth I will find my power to respond. Think of a sailor on a ship. Resignation is letting go of the wheel in the middle of a gale, allowing the ship to be tossed by the waves. Acceptance is gripping the wheel more tightly, feeling the force of the wind and water, and using all your skill to steer through it. You are not approving of the storm. You are acknowledging its reality and marshalling your resources to navigate within it. When you stop fighting the fact of the situation, you reclaim all the energy you were wasting on denial and anger. That energy becomes focus, it becomes patience, it becomes the strength to endure and to find a way forward. Your greatest hardships have likely taught you this same lesson. The moment you stopped asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and started asking, "What can I do with this?" was the moment you moved from being a victim of your circumstances to the active captain of your response. Who are you when no one is watching and everything is going wrong? Comfortable times allow us to wear a mask of virtue, to perform patience and integrity when the cost is low. But pressure shatters that mask, and what is revealed in the fragments is our authentic character. Adversity acts as an unforgiving mirror, reflecting back not who we aspire to be, but who we have actually become. It shows us the cracks in our foundation, the unresolved weaknesses we have managed to ignore during periods of calm. This revelation, while often deeply uncomfortable, is the most invaluable data for self-improvement you will ever receive. Consider a simple, universal scenario. You are at an airport facing a multi-hour flight delay. At first, you maintain composure, but as the announcements continue to push back the departure time, as the crowd grows more agitated and the seats more uncomfortable, your internal resources begin to deplete. The person who thought they were endlessly patient discovers a well of simmering irritation they never knew existed. The individual who prides themselves on being easygoing finds themselves snapping at a gate agent over a circumstance they cannot control. The delay did not create your temper or your impatience. It simply held up a mirror showing you a part of your character that was always there, hidden beneath the surface of an easy life. This is not a moment for self-condemnation. It is a moment of profound clarity. That angry reaction is not a personal failure. It is a diagnostic tool pointing directly to an area that requires your attention and training. The mirror shows you where your inner work remains. Without these difficult reflections, we would continue building our identity on a foundation of sand, believing we are strong until the first real wave hits and we find ourselves washed away. The value of the hardship is this raw, honest feedback. It tells you exactly where you need to build a stronger wall, where you need to develop more resilience, and which virtues are still theoretical ideals rather than lived realities. Shared hardship carves a channel between human hearts. When you have felt the sting of loss, the chill of fear, or the weight of despair, you gain a new capacity to recognize that same ache in someone else. Your own suffering becomes a universal language, a key that unlocks a deeper understanding of the human condition. This is where personal adversity transforms into its most noble lesson, becoming a master teacher of empathy. Seneca, who knew the bitterness of exile and the constant peril of imperial politics, wrote extensively on friendship and clemency, not from a place of untroubled theory, but from the raw material of his own life. His clemency was not an abstract concept. It was the hard-won understanding that people, himself included, are flawed and fragile, acting from pain, fear, or ignorance. His capacity for true friendship was rooted in this shared sense of vulnerability. He saw that our common struggles are the very foundation of our connection. A soldier who has never seen battle may speak of courage, but only the veteran can sit in silence with a comrade and understand the memories that pass between them without a single word. Your own painful experiences, the ones you might wish to forget, have equipped you with this same unspoken vocabulary. That moment of financial panic you endured allows you to hear the quiet anxiety in a friend's voice when they talk about their bills. The grief that reshaped your world lets you sit with another grieving person, not with empty platitudes, but with a quiet presence that says, "I know, and I am here." This is not about comparing wounds. It is about recognizing a familiar landscape in another person's pain. Wisdom, in the Stoic sense, is not just a cold understanding of logic. It is a warm comprehension of the human heart in all its complexity. Your trials have given you a map to that heart. Can you recall a time when a personal struggle, once you had moved through its fire, suddenly made you more patient, more kind, or more willing to listen to a stranger's difficulty? That was not a coincidence. It was the curriculum of adversity completing a crucial lesson, turning your gaze outward and teaching you that our deepest wounds often become the very wells from which we can offer others a drink. We often only understand the true value of a thing in the moment it is taken from us. A period of robust health feels like a given, a permanent state, until an illness arrives and redefines your entire relationship with your own body. The company of a friend is a comfortable background noise until their absence creates a silence that is deafening. Adversity, particularly in the forms of loss and sickness, delivers this lesson with a force that philosophy alone cannot muster. It is the ultimate memento mori, the ancient practice of remembering that you must die. Seneca, in his powerful essay on the shortness of life, confronts this very human blindness. He writes, "You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire. We live as if we have an endless supply of days, postponing what matters for a future that is never guaranteed." A major hardship shatters this illusion. It places a firm and undeniable limit on the horizon, forcing a profound re-evaluation. The petty grievances that consumed your mental energy yesterday suddenly seem insignificant. The project you are stressing over loses its urgency. The argument you are holding onto feels like a pointless waste of precious time. Adversity cuts through the trivial like a sharp blade, clearing away the clutter to reveal what is truly essential. Your time, your attention, your love for the people who matter, these are not infinite resources. A serious illness does not just teach you about physical vulnerability. It teaches you to savor a simple morning walk, to truly listen to a conversation, to find joy in a moment of quiet comfort. The loss of a loved one does more than bring grief. It becomes a permanent reminder to express your affection now, to not leave important words unsaid, to prioritize presence over productivity in the fleeting time you have with others. This painful clarity is the curriculum. It forces you to stop living on autopilot and to start making conscious choices about how you spend your irreplaceable days. It asks you the most important question you will ever answer, a question that Seneca posed to his friend Paulinus. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it. How will you stop wasting the time that remains? A reservoir looks like nothing more than a placid lake until the year the rains fail. It is only in the drought, when every other source has dried up, that the true depth of its reserves is revealed. We are very much the same. A life of comfort and ease is like a season of plentiful rain. It never asks us to reach deeper, so we remain unaware of the vast wells of strength that lie dormant within. It is adversity, the personal drought, that forces us to tap into resources we never knew we possessed. We hear stories of this all the time, of ordinary people performing extraordinary acts under unimaginable duress. A quiet neighbor suddenly organizes an entire community relief effort after a natural disaster. A normally anxious individual finds a surreal calm and takes decisive, life-saving action during a medical emergency. These are not different people suddenly created by chaos. They are the same people, finally accessing a part of themselves that comfortable living had no need to summon. The Stoics held a radical belief about this phenomenon. They argued that the seed of every virtue of courage, resilience, and wisdom already exists within every single person. It is not something we must acquire from the outside. It is a potential, waiting like a seed for the specific conditions that will trigger its growth. A seed needs the resistance of the soil and the pressure of time to break open and reach for the sun. In the same way, our inner strength needs the resistance of hardship to break us out of our comfortable shell and force our capabilities upward. Your most difficult moments have likely done this for you. Can you identify a personal strength, a capacity for patience, or a resilience you did not know you had, that only appeared when you faced a significant challenge? That strength was not created by the hardship. The difficulty was simply the drought that finally forced you to discover the reservoir that had been there all along. Why would anyone choose to sleep on a hard floor when a soft bed is available, or to feel the ache of hunger when the pantry is full? This is not an act of self-punishment, but a profound form of training. Seneca was a staunch advocate for this practice, which he saw as a vaccination for the soul. Just as a small, controlled exposure to a virus teaches the body to resist a full-blown illness, voluntarily embracing minor discomforts inoculates your mind against the shock of future misfortune. He deliberately wore thin clothing in cold weather, ate plain food, and slept on a simple bed. In his letters, he explains that he did this to remind himself that happiness does not reside in silk sheets or rich meals. He was building a callus on his spirit, one that would prevent him from being wounded by the loss of comforts he had never grown too attached to. This practice is a laboratory for wisdom. It allows you to study your own reactions in a safe, controlled environment. When you willingly sit with the cold, you learn that the sensation is temporary and survivable. You dismantle the fear surrounding it. When you choose a simple meal, you prove to yourself that joy is not dependent on gourmet flavors. This process systematically reduces the power that external comforts hold over your peace of mind. The goal is not to live in perpetual austerity, but to forge a resilience that makes luxury a choice, not a necessity. You are not trying to escape life's pleasures, but to liberate yourself from the terror of losing them. The next time a minor inconvenience arises, a power outage or a missed meal, you will no longer meet it with panic. You will greet it as a familiar drill, a scenario you have already mastered in your mind. This is how you build an inner fortress so strong that when the real storms of life arrive, you can stand firm, knowing you have already weathered the practice gales. Your worst day might be the very one a Stoic sage would call a good one. We label a day as bad when it rains on our parade, when a plan falls apart, or when we receive criticism we did not want to hear. These labels are automatic, based almost entirely on whether an event brought us pleasure or pain. Adversity shatters this simplistic system of judgment. It forces a fundamental question: is a day truly bad because it was difficult, or is it only our snap judgment that makes it so? The Stoics proposed a radical redefinition of these terms. In their virtue ethics, the only thing that is genuinely good is an excellent state of your own character, your virtue. The only thing that is genuinely bad is the corruption of that character, your vice. Everything else, all the events that happen to you, from a promotion to a prison sentence, fall into a separate category. They are called indifference. Now, this does not mean you should not care about them at all. It means their value is not inherent. Their moral weight depends entirely on how you use them. The Stoics further divided these indifferents into preferred and dispreferred. Wealth, health, and a good reputation are preferred. You would naturally choose them if you could. Poverty, sickness, and criticism are dispreferred. You would typically avoid them, but crucially, neither category is fundamentally good or bad. A preferred indifferent like wealth can be bad if it leads you to arrogance and laziness. A dispreferred indifferent like poverty can be good if it fuels your resourcefulness and strengthens your integrity. The event itself is neutral. Its moral quality is determined solely by your response. Consider the historical example of Socrates. An Athenian court sentenced him to death, an event any person would label as the ultimate bad day. Yet, according to Plato's account, Socrates accepted the verdict with profound calm. He dismissed a plan for escape, reasoning that to flee would be to betray the very laws of the city that had shaped him. He saw his death not as a tragedy to be feared, but as a final, powerful demonstration of his philosophical commitment. He used a dispreferred indifferent, his own execution, as the raw material to act with supreme virtue. His integrity in that moment was the only true good, and he achieved it. His so-called bad day became the ultimate testament to a life well lived. Your own challenges, while far less severe, operate on the same principle. The frustrating delay, the project setback, the difficult conversation, these are your own dispreferred indifferents. They are not good or bad in themselves. They are the blank canvas upon which you can paint your character. The next time you feel the urge to declare a day ruined, pause and ask yourself a different question. Is this event preventing me from acting with courage, with justice, with wisdom? Or is it offering me the perfect opportunity to do so? Modern life is a constant barrage of notifications and noise, a relentless stream that rarely allows for a moment of true quiet. Then a crisis hits. Suddenly, the world goes silent. The background hum of your daily routine vanishes, replaced by the profound quiet of a hospital waiting room, the empty space in a home after a loss, or the isolating silence of a major setback. This forced solitude, which we so often dread and resist, is where adversity delivers one of its most potent lessons. It strips away the distractions and holds up a mirror, asking you to finally look at the person you see there. Seneca's own life is a masterclass in this transformation. The Roman Senate, under Emperor Claudius, exiled him to the harsh, remote island of Corsica. This was a devastating blow, a professional and social death sentence that ripped him from the intellectual heart of Rome and cast him into utter isolation. Yet, in that imposed silence, far from the political noise and social obligations, Seneca did not crumble. He turned his gaze inward and began to write. It was during this period of exile that he produced some of his most enduring and profound philosophical works, including his Consolations. The very solitude meant to break him became the fertile ground where his wisdom took root and flourished. The quiet forced him to confront himself, to question his values, and to find a source of strength that was entirely his own, independent of the external world that had been taken from him. This is the hidden curriculum within Hardship's silence. When the noise of your normal life fades, you are left alone with your thoughts, your fears, and your unresolved questions. There is no longer anywhere to hide from them. This can feel terrifying at first, like being cast adrift, but within that quiet, a deep and necessary conversation with yourself can finally begin. What would you learn about your own character if you stopped filling the difficult silences with distraction? If you allowed the quiet of a tough time to simply be, what truths about your resilience, your priorities, or your deepest desires might finally have the space to surface? Your phone screen loads a web page one pixel at a time, and a wave of pure frustration instantly tightens your shoulders. That red traffic light feels like a personal insult, stretching seconds into an eternity. We dismiss these moments as trivial, but they are the fundamental drills for the marathon of life. Patience is a virtue that cannot be theorized into existence. It is forged exclusively in the friction of delay, obstruction, and waiting. You cannot learn to be patient when everything flows according to your will, just as you cannot learn to swim on dry land. These daily irritations are the micro-trainers, the daily calisthenics for your soul, preparing you for the larger, more profound adversities that demand true endurance. Seneca saw this with absolute clarity. He understood patience not as passive waiting, but as an active form of wisdom. It is the deep comprehension that the universe operates on a timeline far grander than our own immediate desires, and that some processes, from the healing of a wound to the growth of trust, demand their own irreducible time. In his essay on anger, he gives this powerful advice: there is no great genius without some touch of madness, but also no great and lasting endurance without the habit of patience. He calls for a form of perseverance that is not a gritted-teeth toleration of life, but a calm and reasoned acceptance of its necessary rhythms. Think of a farmer who plants a seed. He cannot tug on the shoot every morning to make it grow faster. He must provide the conditions, water and sun, and then he must wait, trusting in a process he cannot see. Your own goals, your relationships, your personal healing, they all follow this same natural law. The frustration you feel in traffic is a small-scale rehearsal for the much larger test of waiting for a career to blossom or for a personal conflict to resolve. Each time you breathe through the minor irritation instead of letting it command your mood, you are not just getting through a slow line at the grocery store. You are laying another brick in the foundation of an unshakable composure, building the strength to endure the storms that truly matter when patience is all you have left. A peacock's magnificent feathers are useless in a driving rainstorm. The wind lashes, the brilliant colors run, and the bird is reduced to its essential, struggling self. This is the brutal, necessary gift of public failure. It drenches our vanity, that carefully constructed display we use to impress the world, and leaves us shivering with the raw truth of who we are without it. Adversity, especially the humiliating kind that unfolds before others, is the death of superficial pride. Your ego is a shield made of glass. It looks impressive and can deflect minor criticisms, but a single, significant blow shatters it completely, leaving you cut and exposed. A character forged in difficulty, however, is a shield of tempered steel. It bears the dents and scratches of experience, but it does not break. It becomes stronger. The Stoics championed this shift from external validation to an unshakable internal foundation. They called this humility, a virtue born from the honest recognition that we are not the infallible figures our vanity pretends we are. A public failure, a business that collapses, a speech that falters, a mistake seen by everyone, these experiences forcibly tear down the monument you built to your own self-importance. In the rubble, you have a choice. You can desperately try to gather the broken pieces and glue them back together, or you can look at the cleared space and finally build something real. Consider a celebrated actor adored for their talent and charm, who then stars in a film that is a monumental, very public failure. The critics are savage, the audience mocks it, and the media dissects their every misstep. For a time, they might retreat, wounded by the humiliation, but for some, that very public fall becomes a turning point. Stripped of the effortless praise, they are forced to ask themselves a fundamental question. Was I a good actor, or was I just famous? The failure murders their vanity, and in its place, a deeper artist can be born. They return to the craft itself, choosing challenging roles over safe, crowd-pleasing ones. Their work gains a new gravity, a vulnerability and authenticity that was missing when success came too easily. The applause is no longer the point, the integrity of the work is. This is the Stoic ideal in action. Your reputation, your social standing, your public image, these are the peacock's feathers. They are external and fragile. Your integrity, your resilience, your capacity for hard work, these are your internal virtues. They cannot be ruined by a storm. They can only be revealed by one. When the world stops applauding, what is left of your sense of worth? The answer to that question is the beginning of true wisdom. A single fallen tree can block a road used by thousands, reminding an entire city of its fragile dependence on a network it never sees. We feel most separate and self-sufficient when life is predictable, when our personal plans unfold without a hitch. But a crisis, whether a community-wide power outage or a global pandemic, shatters that illusion in an instant. Suddenly, your well-being is tied to the actions of a stranger washing their hands, the dedication of a grocery store clerk, or the stability of a supply chain stretching across the world. This shared vulnerability is a profound teacher, stripping away our sense of isolated self-importance and revealing the intricate web that connects us all. The Stoics had a word for this fundamental interconnectedness of the cosmos, sympatheia. They saw the universe not as a collection of separate events, but as a single, living organism where every part influences the whole. A tremor in one part of the system is felt everywhere, just as a pain in your finger commands the attention of your entire body. From this understanding flows the beautiful Stoic ideal of cosmopolitanism, the belief that we are all citizens of one universal city. Your primary identity is not as a citizen of Rome or any other nation, but as a member of the human race, sharing a common reason and a common fate with every other person. The Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who spent years on distant battlefields governing an empire, constantly returned to this thought to ground himself. He wrote in his Meditations, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." Your personal struggles, your private adversities are never truly private. They are events within the larger hive of humanity. When you overcome a difficulty, you are not just strengthening yourself. You are adding resilience to the entire human community. Your patience in a moment of frustration becomes a small thread in a larger tapestry of collective calm. Your compassion, born from your own pain, becomes a resource that strengthens the bonds of your entire community. Think back to a time when you went through a deep personal struggle. Did you find that your own pain made you more aware of the silent struggles of those around you? Did a failure of your own make you more willing to extend a hand to someone else who was stumbling? That feeling of connection was not a coincidence. It was the curriculum of sympatheia at work, teaching you that your greatest personal trials are often the very things that break down the walls of your isolated self and introduce you to your true place within the whole human family. This too shall pass. These 4 simple words hold one of the most stabilizing truths adversity can teach us. Every emotional state, every circumstance, is a temporary visitor in the ongoing story of your life. The crushing weight of a failure feels absolute, as if it will define you forever. The euphoric high of a success seems like a permanent new plateau. But both are fleeting. Hardship ingrains this lesson of impermanence into your very bones, not as a pessimistic thought, but as a source of profound emotional freedom. When you are in the rapids, it is the certainty that calm water lies ahead that keeps you from panicking. And when you are gliding on a serene lake, it is the memory of the rapids that keeps you from becoming careless or arrogant. Seneca constantly reflected on the flowing nature of time and fortune, urging us to see life as a river. A river is never the same from one moment to the next. It has stretches of perfect mirror-like stillness, and it has sections of churning, chaotic white water. If you are caught in the rapids, you do not believe the entire river is made of chaos. You know it is one phase of the journey. You learn to navigate it, trusting that the river's character will change again. This wisdom actively reduces the intoxication of success. A promotion or a windfall feels wonderful, but if you understand its temporary nature, you enjoy it without building your entire identity upon it. You avoid the folly of believing you have finally beaten the system and achieved a permanent state of bliss. Simultaneously, it drains the despair from failure. A financial loss or a personal rejection is painful, but if you know this pain is not permanent, you can endure it without believing your life is over. You can survey the damage with clearer eyes, looking for the lessons the current has brought you. This is the emotional equilibrium that adversity, over time, grants you. You stop clinging so desperately to the good days and stop resisting so violently the bad ones. You begin to flow with the river of your life, trusting its changing nature and learning from every single bend. The ink pen bled onto the parchment, ruining the document and the diplomat's composure in a single moment. This everyday frustration, however, sparked a revelation for Lewis Waterman in the late 19th century. Furious with the unreliable pens of his era, he dedicated himself to solving the problem of consistent ink flow. His adversity did not end with a ruined contract. It became the very catalyst for his invention of the modern fountain pen, turning a professional obstacle into a foundational business opportunity. This is the essence of the Stoic art of the flip, the deliberate practice of inverting your perspective to see the potential advantage hidden within every setback. Seneca captured this mindset perfectly when he wrote that a wise person turns all circumstances to their benefit. Notice he did not say a wise person avoids all circumstances. He said they turn them actively and skillfully, as a blacksmith turns raw iron into a tool. Your own challenges, no matter their scale, contain this same dormant seed of benefit. The key is to shift from asking why this is happening to me and start asking a more powerful question. What can this situation make possible that was not possible before? A sudden job loss forces a period of reflection that can clarify your true career passions, something the comfort of a steady paycheck often obscures. A difficult personal conflict, while painful, can teach you powerful lessons about setting boundaries or communicating with more honesty. Even a period of ill health can slow you down enough to reassess your lifestyle and priorities, leading to long-term well-being you might have otherwise neglected. The obstacle itself begins to look different. It is no longer a wall blocking your path, but the raw material for building a bridge. This is not about naive positivity or denying the real pain of a situation. It is a pragmatic and courageous search for agency. Within the confines of this new reality, what actions can you take? What strengths can you develop? What doors previously unnoticed have now been opened? Think about a persistent problem you are grappling with right now. If you were forced to find one potential benefit, one seed of an equal or greater advantage within it, what would it be? The simple act of asking that question begins the work of the flip, transforming you from a passive victim of circumstance into an active architect of your response. Our most detailed plans are built upon a foundation of guesswork about a future we cannot truly see. How many hours have you spent agonizing over a potential outcome, crafting intricate strategies to avoid a disaster that never actually arrived? The anxiety you felt was real, but the event was a phantom. Adversity has a way of humbling us not just by what happens, but by revealing how often the things we were certain would happen simply do not. A business plan you poured your soul into falls apart, not because of a flaw in your effort, but because of an unseen market shift or a personal need you could not have anticipated. This collapse is not merely a professional setback. It is a profound lesson in the vast limits of our own knowledge and prediction. We are forced to confront the uncomfortable truth that we are navigating life with an incomplete and often faulty map. This is where intellectual humility is born, the quiet but powerful wisdom that acknowledges how much we do not and cannot know. The Stoics held this virtue in the highest regard, seeing it as the necessary starting point for all true learning. They deeply admired the Socratic declaration that the beginning of wisdom is knowing that you know nothing. This is not an invitation to ignorance, but a call to a more honest and open engagement with the world. It is the understanding that a mind which believes it has all the answers has closed itself off to new information. It has stopped growing. Think of a scientist who designs an experiment. The entire process is built on a hypothesis, an educated guess. If the experiment fails and the results do not match the prediction, the scientist does not simply discard the data. A good scientist gets curious. The failure reveals a flaw in their initial understanding, a variable they did not consider, a principle they misunderstood. That failed experiment, that moment of being proven wrong, is the very engine of scientific progress. Your own life operates on the same principle. Consider a time a meticulously planned career path was suddenly blocked. The immediate feeling was one of defeat and confusion. All that planning felt wasted, but then, forced to look in a new direction, you stumbled into a role or a project you would never have considered otherwise. That unexpected path ultimately utilized a talent you had undervalued and led to a deeper sense of purpose than your original, rigid plan ever could have. The failure of your first plan was not the end of your story. It was the necessary demolition that cleared the space for a better, more authentic structure to be built. Adversity, by proving our predictions wrong, breaks the arrogance of certainty and opens the door to a world of possibilities we were previously too blind to see. Courage is not a shield against fear, but a decision made in its presence. We often mistake this virtue for the absence of trembling hands or a racing heart, but Stoic courage is something far more profound. It is the conscious judgment that something else, truth, justice, integrity, is infinitely more important than the fear you feel. This is the virtue that adversity is uniquely positioned to cultivate, because you cannot practice courage in a vacuum. It requires a real opponent, a tangible reason to be afraid. Seneca's entire life was a lesson in this form of courage. Living under the erratic and often brutal emperors Caligula and Nero, he faced the constant threat of death for speaking his mind. His writings on facing tyranny were not theoretical exercises. They were survival manuals for the soul, arguing that a person who has learned how to die has unlearned how to be a slave. His courage was not a lack of fear, but a profound conviction that living a life of compromised principle was a fate worse than death itself. This stretches the definition of bravery far beyond the battlefield. It encompasses the moral courage to speak up in a meeting when you see an unethical practice, despite the fear of social exclusion. It includes the emotional courage to be vulnerable in a relationship, to say I was wrong, or to set a necessary boundary, even when you are terrified of the outcome. In each case, the fear is real and present. Courage is the voice that whispers, "This value I hold is more important than my comfort." Think of a situation in your own life right now where you feel the pull of safety, the urge to remain silent or to avoid unnecessary conflict. What is the more important thing at stake? Is it your integrity, the well-being of someone you love, the truth of who you want to be? In that space between your fear and your action, courage is waiting to be chosen. It is the judgment that your commitment to that higher principle outweighs the very real desire to feel safe. A house fire presents the purest test of what you truly value. Flames lick at the doorframe and smoke fills the hall. In those frantic seconds, you do not grab for your expensive television or your designer shoes. Your hands reach for the photo album, the family heirloom, the people and pets you love. Everything else becomes instantly, painfully irrelevant. Adversity operates with this same brutal efficiency, acting as a fire that burns away the clutter of our wants to reveal the core of our actual need. It forces a clarity that comfortable living never demands. This is the Stoic refinement of desire, the process where hardship naturally prunes away the non-essentials, teaching us that contentment is not found in acquiring more, but in wanting less. Seneca watched the wealthy elite of Rome drown in their own luxuries, and he saw not happiness but a deeper form of poverty. He wrote scathing critiques of this endless pursuit, observing that it is not the man who has too little who is poor, but the one who always craves more. He watched people amass fortunes only to become slaves to the very possessions they owned, constantly anxious about losing them and needing even more to feel secure. Their desires were a leaky bucket, never full, always demanding another drop. In stark contrast, he praised the simple life, not as a grim duty, but as the ultimate form of liberation. His most powerful statement on this cuts to the heart of the matter. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. True wealth, he argued, is wanting what you already have. Think of a major financial setback you may have faced. In the initial panic, you likely felt a profound sense of loss. But as the dust settled, a curious thing often happens. You discover that meals cooked at home can be more satisfying than expensive restaurant fare. You find that a quiet evening with a good book or a walk with a friend provides a deeper joy than costly entertainment. The hardship did not give you these simple pleasures. They were always there. It simply burned away the distraction of thinking you needed something more elaborate to be happy. It refined your desires, paring them down to the essentials. This is the hidden gift within the struggle. It teaches you to distinguish between a passing want and a genuine need, and in doing so, it introduces you to a freedom that no amount of money can ever buy, the freedom of being content with enough. You cannot always choose what happens to you, but you can always choose what it means to you. This single sentence contains the entire architecture of Stoic resilience, a mental technology for reframing any event. The process begins by stripping the situation down to its raw, unadorned facts. Your project was not a catastrophic humiliation. The fact is you received critical feedback on a specific deliverable. The traffic jam is not a personal conspiracy. The fact is your car is stationary on a highway due to an accident ahead. This first step is like a detective separating the physical evidence from the witness testimonies. You are isolating the objective event from the storm of subjective judgment that usually surrounds it. Next, you consciously challenge your initial, automatic interpretation. That voice that says this proves I am a failure or this ruins my entire day is not a statement of fact. It is a story you are telling yourself, and like any story, it can be edited. Ask yourself, is this the only way to see this? What evidence contradicts this negative narrative? This is not about denying your feelings, but about questioning the assumptions that gave rise to them. Finally, you actively seek a more virtuous or useful interpretation. How can this situation be an opportunity to practice patience? Could this setback be forcing me to develop a skill I have neglected? Is this difficulty revealing a deeper truth about what I truly value? You are not looking for a naive silver lining, but for a perspective that empowers you to act with character rather than react with panic. Try this with a minor annoyance right now. The next time a slow driver delays you, notice the immediate story of frustration. Then practice the reframe. The fact is I will arrive a few minutes later. My initial judgment is that this is a major inconvenience. A more useful interpretation could be that this is a forced moment to slow down, a chance to practice accepting what I cannot control, or simply an extra few minutes to listen to a song I enjoy. In that small, conscious shift, you are not just dealing with traffic, you are building the mental muscle to find your footing when the ground truly falls away. The historical figures we remember centuries later are rarely those who lived the easiest lives. We are drawn to the stories of individuals who faced immense obstacles and forged their character in the crucible of hardship. Their legacy is not one of unbroken success, but of profound resilience. A life that glides from one comfort to the next is like a book with beautiful, blank pages. It is pleasant, perhaps, but it lacks a compelling theme, a narrative arc that resonates with the universal human struggle. Seneca's own enduring influence is a testament to this. His philosophical power was not born in the comfortable halls of power, but was refined during his bitter exile and ultimately sealed by his forced suicide, an event he met with the same reasoned calm he had spent a lifetime preaching. His legacy is inextricably linked to how he faced adversity. The trials you overcome do not just strengthen you personally, they become the central chapters of the story you are telling with your life. They are the evidence of your values in action, the proof of what you deemed important enough to fight for, to endure for, and to learn from. This is the Stoic concern for a life of purpose. It asks you to see your struggles not as private misfortunes to be hidden, but as the raw material for a meaningful contribution. Your response to difficulty becomes your most authentic signature on the world. When you cultivate wisdom through hardship, you are not just solving a personal problem. You are adding a thread of resilience, integrity, or compassion to the larger human tapestry. So as you reflect on the challenges you face now, consider this final question. What story will your adversities help you tell? Seneca's entire philosophy asks one fundamental question of us. Will you see the obstacle in your path as a barrier or as the path itself? Throughout this journey, we have explored how adversity is not a curse to be avoided, but a demanding tutor whose lessons forge unshakable wisdom. It teaches us the vital separation between what we can control and what we cannot, refines our character in the fire of difficulty, and reveals the hidden opportunities buried within every crisis. This perspective shift is the ultimate empowerment. It means the very challenges you might be tempted to resent are, in fact, your custom-designed curriculum for growth. Seneca left us with a powerful and less often quoted thought that captures this transformation perfectly. He wrote, "A man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." Your pain is real, but so much of your suffering comes from the stories you tell yourself before, during, and after the hardship itself. The event is neutral. Your judgment gives it its power, so here is your final call to action. Look directly at the most persistent challenge in your life right now. Instead of asking why this is happening to you, begin asking what this situation is trying to teach you. What quality is it demanding you build? What unnecessary attachment is it asking you to release? Actively reframe this difficulty as your personal, essential training in wisdom. We would love to hear how this philosophy resonates with your own life. In the comments, share one crucial lesson that adversity has taught you. Your story could be the very mirror that helps someone else see their own strength.